On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk noise-reducing Ethernet cables, IKEA's Sonos lamp, and HEOS's interesting health move. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
This is ResiWeek, episode 359. You bought what? Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matthew Scott, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by my good friend, the one and only Mr. Rich Fregosa. He's the principal at Fregosa Design. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, brother. It's, I guess, the Talking Heads fireside chat prior to the next fireside chat.
Fireside chat today.
Oh, yeah. It's actually cold here in California, but we are coming
How cold
fresh
is it?
off.
Are you okay? Are you gonna be all right?
It is. It's
50?
like I needed to wear pants. It's like in the 40s. So. Yeah, no, but we're coming fresh off of episode 100 of A State of Control.
Hey,
so.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My invite must have got caught in my spam filter.
We called it the relevant issue. So the relevant.
Oh, thanks. Loser. So glad you're here. This is the last full episode before the holidays, before Christmas, and a couple of the scheduled guests are out sick and all that fun stuff. So you're stuck with Richie and I. We're going to talk a boatload of things today, starting with the fact that Parasound has been sold to David Sheriff. Richard Schramm. Am I saying that right?
Schramm. Rich Schramm.
Rich Schramm is going to retire after founding the company back in 81. I've met him, a couple of times, a handful of times. I know you're a really good old-time friend of Rich. Parasound is not one of those names that's necessarily like top of mind when it comes to the CI channel. But when you bring it up, anyone who's been in this business for a minute has a Parasound story. They've all dealt with Parasound in one way, shape, or form. What does it mean for Rich to move on from this? And, again, it's another one of those foundational characters that's retiring.
I think that's exactly what you just said, is it was a transition from a foundational character in the industry. I mean, I put Rich Schramm up there with the Sam Runcos of the world.
Yeah.
Rich, especially his partnership with John Curl, was an approach. And again, this was at the time that, again, kind of aging myself, but, you had the Carvers of the world, you had the Macintoshes of the world, you had the Levinsons of the world that were putting out phenomenal high-end audio at high-end prices. And Rich's approach was to provide that level of sonic quality, but introducing it into a price range in a market that just wasn't heard of at that time. And the engineering firepower behind it. I mean, I was really fortunate that they were based out of San Francisco, so I spent a lot of time with them. And I think my first project with them was in 1990-ish, and it was the John Curl Design GMAS, otherwise known as the Great Mother of all subwoofers.
Yep.
It was the approach with the 18-inch subwoofer. I did a tin ceiling, with two of those in there. It was in fact, it was, I think, one of our stories in Audio Video Interiors in 1991. We've still got pictures of that sucker, and we've got an entire rack of Parasound amps and their processors at that time. I'm really happy for him. I'm gonna miss him. Rich, in recent years we haven't had that much time to chat, but over the years we've always had great opportunities to sit down and just he always had that little piece of stealth knowledge that he could drop. And those are the things that I miss, I think, as the industry is changing, is that it was inevitable, but the characters that I drug you around and said, you need to make this guy and this guy and this guy. They were more than just faces of the company. They were the spirits. They were the backbones of the company. They were the hearts of these companies. And, he deserves it. He's been at it for 40 years, and they did a great job. And I think that with this sale, he wouldn't have done it if he didn't think they were going to be in good hands. And with Parasound themselves, it's one of those things where you didn't necessarily know about them until you needed them. And then once you found out about them, you're like, oh yeah, they're just, they're the ace in the hole. I mean, a little half rack, DAC to be able to use, or a preamp, or, little 2-channel amps where, you still needed stereo, but with, a SPDIF, and oh my goodness, RS-232 control built in these sub-$1,000 units.
They were kind of like the first. They were the black magic designs of audio.
Yeah.
Really. They were highly effective, affordable, all things considered, but they just had so many troubleshooting pieces like that. We have a bunch of projects that have that half rack because nobody else had that. Nobody else made that. They were years ahead of their time. And I do think it's great that it's going to live on without, being under one of those conglomerates, which is kind of paraphrasing his quote, right?
Yeah, it is nice that it is not just part of an umbrella company. And I don't know David Sheriff, but from the sounds of it, and from the article, and definitely, it's nice, I think, for integrators to go ahead and read some of these articles just to see the business of who you're dealing with.
Very
right?
much so.
It's
very much so.
It's an opportunity to see that we've talked about before. We're beyond our adolescence at this point. And these companies are shifting and moving, and not necessarily becoming real businesses, but different business approaches are entering into the market. We've seen it with the consolidation and with the acquisitions. I mean, we're seeing it in commercial right now.
Oh, yeah.
We're seeing the kind of like what we call the baby bells, when they all got split up and now they're all kind of morphing back together again.
Well, and it's interesting to look over the whole of it and realize that we are just, the last couple of years really starting to see second generation of a lot of these companies. Whereas when you think of the majority of brand names that and industries that like, gosh, Ford has had 5 generation transitions,
right,
in the Ford family, right? Like it is massive. But at the same time, we're still young. We're still young.
So I will say, congratulations, Rich. Well deserved. Enjoy your retirement. You will be missed, but I am sure you're going to make the most of the time away from all of these ragamuffins. And so I'm sure he's not going to be too upset about not having to hit yet another trade show. So good on you, Rich.
Very much so. All right, let's hit to, we'll call them entertaining stories. Just for kicks and giggles. This comes to us from Residential Systems. Melco introduces a noise-reducing Ethernet cable. The C100 features an asymmetrical drain wire grounding, where one end of the cable features a grounding point, which is so entertaining. I love this. Priced between 125 pounds, which kind of equates to about $150, $160 US for a 1 meter length. It's got gold plating because you definitely need that in your Ethernet cable, because only one end of the cable supposedly is grounded. It's a floating shield, not a true ground. I am trying to not be completely cynical about this. And put it into the vein of the triangles that you put on your carpet to hold your 2-channel speaker wires up off the carpet to limit static. Who's buying this? Who is buying into this? Like, I know people do,
I will say, don't.
But come on.
Whenever I underestimate the power of the Asian marketplace and the sale of high-end audio, and specifically, Asian EMEA, and then I hear the numbers about it, I go, okay, I get it. I grew up in boutique audio. That was one of my first gigs. And so, there was at some point, you've always had the black magic and the voodoo and on all the things about, if you throw this magic dust on your LPs, this will actually work in the car. I mean, there were times where like real engineering took place and you could see it. And, there was a time where applied science, occurred and you could see the transitions in the technology with transportation technology of an analog signal.
Yeah.
Big caveat there of an analog signal. And, when you had features like the skin effect and, the fact that from the science is that a higher frequency travels at a different rate inside the conductor than the lower frequency, right? There's, when they first came out with the twisted speaker cables or interconnects, it's like, okay, we're actually going to apply physics and work our way through with a signal. And then digital came around. And digital completely changes the entire landscape at that point, which becomes a matter of you can't go to that same well and try to tell that same story necessarily. Now,
and yet
is EMI, EMF, are those issues with performance audio systems or any system in general? Yes, they still are. Can you still inject physically an issue into a system if you're not paying attention? Yes. The how many years later you and I dealt with it, a couple of years ago, a 60 cycle hum. It came out of nowhere, right? Yeah. Pristine system.
Yep.
Theoretically shouldn't be happening, yet there it still is, right? So on one hand, yes, I believe in the applying of the science, and there are ways to help electronics in a room and your overall playback quality and reduce your noise floor. But a Cat5 cable with the Ethernet, which would have been, I'm like, okay, well, if you're trying to expand a signal,
a 1 meter Cat5 cable,
we've always said at that point, it's like, well, you can try doing it with a cable, or you can actually just fix your electrical system. one's going to work out a whole lot better. And, but hey, you know what? Good on them for trying it, and the placebo effect, which is if it makes you feel better, go ahead and put that aftermarket spoiler on your Prius. It's going to rock,
Every time I see these, I just continually go back to the original spec for the JBL synthesis theaters, and the speaker wire spec is 16.2 lamp cord. It's nothing fancy. That's how they design them. They're like, yeah, this is what we want you to use. No, it should be something big and shielded and awesome. They're like, nope, just straight up cable. All right, something that has been, I don't know if this commercial is playing down by you guys, but up here we're getting a huge holiday campaign from everyone's Swedish friend IKEA. They're launching a $260 Symfonisk. That one. It's a floor lamp and a Sonos speaker all in one. It's a floor lamp. It's got a nice little basket weave lamp shade on it, and something that looks a little bit bigger than a 1 or a 1SL, not as big as a 3. And yeah, it I don't know. I don't have a problem with this, Rich. Am I wrong? Like, I see all the hate.
I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it.
Every week I see hate about Sonos on one of the forums I'm on by some integrator who's, and I'll say it, is a moron and just has to be a brand douche. I'm sure he's the guy that's got the Ferrari jacket as he drives his rusted Ram pickup. That being said, I don't mind this.
Sonos as an integration brand, I mean, my feelings are known at it. But like, I think about this. My brother just moved into a new apartment with his long-term girlfriend. They had limited space. For Christmas last year, I got him a soundbar. I got him one of the big soundbars, and I'm looking at that going, I know he has limited space in his living room. That would work.
Yeah.
It would work. Again, it's, hey, I have more. I have my share of, IKEA, little the angled little hex wrenches sitting in a drawer somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I've gone through my share of Billies and Boggies and Wunderlifts and whatever they are. And, there's a market for it. And the point being is that, like everything else, right? It is I'm not going to say elegant, but it is an acceptable solution for a value-oriented price.
I'll go one further. I won't say it's elegant, but I won't say anything at IKEA is elegant. Functionality? That looks fantastic.
It's a light. It's a speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's reasonably good looking.
Yeah.
I got no problems with it. So hit me up on Twitter with all your hate mail. I don't care. Especially if you're the guy with the Ferrari jacket and the rusted Ram pickup.
Okay, and visit us at IKEA in January 2023 when it's available. Hey,
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe we'll just take a picture next to it. Maybe that'll just be, that will just make that part of the splash page.
Next time I'm in Toronto and at an IKEA, yeah, I will. I totally will. I'll post it too. Heck, I might buy one and bring it home. Why not?
Why not?
It'd go great in my kids' room. They'd be fine. All right, let's hit probably the meat of the show today, which is if that one wasn't the meat, right? This comes to us from CE Pro. I saw this early this morning, and it is rare that I shake my head and just am baffled at why. But Sound United's parent is expanding the Denon HEOS reach into healthcare. And yes, you heard that right. HEOS, who is essentially Sonos competitor from Denon, is trying to get into healthcare. Masimo says a software upgrade is going to offer integration of health and wellness data available to over 20,000 HEOS Denon home devices and Masimo home health hubs, which are 4 million devices in 2023, using in one case their W1 health tracking watch. It's going to allow a HEOS extension to provide users access to secure and continuous health data from the comfort of their home. I am baffled at what this is supposed to do, how this could be utilized, why in God's name I'd want Denon, who I love. I have no hate for Denon. But what in the world are they thinking, and how, what am I missing, Rich? Because this looks like the perfect example of, hey, we had an engineer who came up with this great idea and we should have never done this.
Well, I think that honestly, the way that they're using the HEOS is just as a Trojan horse. The more that I read about Masimo,
that sounds great.
The more that I read about them, the more it was like, we do professional health, right? You go into a hospital, you go into a clinic, you go into dialysis, right? There's their machines, right? And then they do their personal devices, and then they do consumer audio. And so the first thing when I read that, I went, well, let's think about this. You've got a architecture that already technically could call back to its cloud-based servers and its integration ability. It's already on your network. It's already got the ability to grab data as you need it to. And all we have to do is just leverage a little bit of how the information flow expands out to their personal devices. And again, right, in the same way that mobile changed everything, personal health, it's the wearable. It's, we know that wearable is going to be the next frontier. And I think that Masimo just went, well, we bought this company. It kind of talks to stuff. Why don't we just go ahead and have it? Why don't we use it? And so the head scratcher is from our side of the industry, which we're used to this being a distributed music system, right? We're looking at the streaming music elements of it, going, okay, well, my Denon AVR doesn't really add anything to my Denon AVR, and they're going, we don't care. You got one, and if you've got a Denon AVR, and we've got our wearable, because how many times have we said, with social media and with everything else, the product, the materials aren't the product. The people are the product. The data are the product.
I understand that. Where I'm confused is, are you expecting that they're going to use the HEOS mesh, for lack of a better term, to help just facilitate a data upload?
Yeah.
Why would they need that on top of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth?
Maybe they didn't know what they bought necessarily, or maybe it's the secure way of being able to transfer information.
That seems like the most insecure way possible.
Yeah.
Not. And again, I'm not trying to hate on HEOS, but man, our industry does not have a glowing record of internet security.
Well, security is not in our DNA. Let's put it that way. Correct.
And they say in the article that it's a HIPAA compliant ecosystem, and it's going to provide safeguards such as redundancy and communication with the cloud. This just, I don't know, man. I am baffled. I do not understand this at all.
I mean, this could be another kind of Samsung thing where Samsung, bought some technology. They bought Harman and said, okay, great, we've got the car audio. And they go, oh, wait, we have a control company too? When did that happen? I mean, it's just like, we bought that too?
Why do we have stage lighting? What is going on?
Exactly, because it's like, hey, do you know that we bought that speaker company? Oh, no, now what, right? And so there's somebody sitting there going, well, might as well use it. We could kick the tires on it, see what we can make happen.
There's some lawyer down in M&A who was like, crap, we closed this deal.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Did you know that came with it?
We got a plan to help you get health data to the cloud. It only cost you $49 million. Or I don't remember what the acquisition was, but
yeah, I mean, it's the wearable market is really interesting. I mean, you had Fitbit got acquired by Google, and then it just kind of it's doing its own thing right now. You've got the wearable thing with Apple.
Yeah.
It's doing the Google thing.
Yeah,
but I it appears that many companies are viewing wearables as that new frontier. And so they are trying to find ways to leverage, and in this case, from a company that they bought already, that technology to say, oh, by the way, if you've got something that comes up and your blood pressure spikes and your HEOS connected AVR will have a little pop-up that says, hey, you're having a stroke. Go get yourself checked out. I mean, it just...
Grandpa's having a stroke in the front room.
Press to confirm. Oh, wait, firmware update.
So what our takeaway spin from this is going to be? Make sure you name your rooms properly, because at some point you might find out that a family member is having a medical emergency, and when you name the den something other than the den, they're running to the wrong room.
And God forbid it disrupt your Spotify stream when it happens. So.
I see the teenagers on TikTok now coming out.
Ignore exactly. Have Grandpa have a stroke elsewhere. Yeah, that's the episode of the show. Yeah,
I was
on
in the
screen
middle.
display. Yeah,
my Taylor Swift playlist was going, and you paused it for your stupid stroke.
Yeah, that's it. How dare you?
Oh gosh, I'm getting banned. And more importantly, when you're putting these things in, make sure your network's as secure as possible, because all of a sudden we're going to have HIPAA information going across your distributed audio.
Your Spotify playlist on HIPAA. Yeah. Exactly.
Gosh. All right, Richie. Thank you, my friend. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Fregosa Design, where can they do that?
Well, you can find me on the socials that are out there at our Fregosa. You can type in my name in the interwebs and always things pop up there. But as I always say, I hope the place you find me is here on AVNation.tv and our suite of shows. And again, congratulations to my partner, Steve Greenblatt, for episode 100, 9 years in the making. That'll be popping soon. And I know that you and I are going to be popping onto another podcast shortly.
We're doubling up today.
Yeah, we are doubling up. We're putting in the hours.
It's going to be a party.
But yeah, and the company Fregosa Design, you can find me there. But like I said, best place I hope you find me is right here.
I love it.
Oh, and see you in Spain in 2023. So
yeah
I will be reporting from the show floor that's where you can find me. I'll be reporting from the show floor from ISE 2023 at the end of January.
I love it. Thanks again for joining us. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and most other social platforms. But more importantly, please stop by AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.